Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Dun, dun, da, dun. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Samantha Dragonati. All right, girls. Let's jump in. Let's get started. Big news for tomorrow. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'll be 36. I want one thing for my birthday tomorrow, and it includes you. So for tomorrow's stream, I would like to attempt to have a quote serious conversation in a philosophical sense about a trending topic that the part of TikTok I'm on is having about disability, eugenics, and preventative care. And I thought, okay, our community here is always talking about, how to have hard conversations. I'm always saying I'm looking for serious content creators to have serious discussions with. Nobody's serious. Everyone's just moving on fear. And I thought, okay, let's try to attempt it as a community. It will be hard. It won't be perfect. It might be sensitive for some people. Some people might need to opt out of the stream. But I am attempting to get us to have harder conversations about things that are very uncomfortable. And I think it will help explain why systems are created in ways that come at the expense of the marginalized, right? So tomorrow, we'll do that for my birthday. That's my birthday wish. I just want to have a sort of serious discussion about something that's really sensitive to all of us, but I think important for us to challenge ourselves with these conversations without turning into debate bros, because nobody likes a debate bro. Okay? Take a sip of your teas today, girls. It's going to get wild. Today, we are covering Sneako and Ye in regards to being creatives. Disclaimer, if you're new to my audience, during lockdown, I was becoming a full-time streamer. And during that time, I became friends with Abba from Fresh and Fit Jesus, Abba from Abba and Preach, Sneako from Sneako, and then Destiny from Destiny. And during that era of my life, I was trying to be very, we listen and we don't judge. And I think it was going pretty well until it didn't. And I've taken down basically all the collabs I've done with those people over the years because I didn't want to give them any more leniency that I had given them over those years, because I was trying to meet people where they were. And I think in many ways their audiences had been critical of me, specifically in regards to Sneako, but had missed the understanding of why I was even compassionate to Sneako during that time anyways. So today I think we have to talk about it first and foremost, because people always bring it up like, aren't you the girl that was really lenient on Sneako? Even Abba used to criticize me for being too lenient on Sneako. I think what these boys all missed is that I was lenient on all of them. I think the dilemma these audiences forgot is that I wasn't just lenient on Sneako. I was lenient on Abba and I was lenient on Destiny. I was so lenient on them. I did not hold them to the standard I would have held myself because I didn't think they could get there. They weren't ready. So this is the last interview I did with Sneako. I don't have it on my channel anymore, but somebody uploaded it to YouTube. And I remember when I posted it, Destiny was really critical, Abba was really critical, and they were just like, you were too nice to Sneako. I think they forget that I was nice to all of them. All three men built a reputation on the internet and became millionaires being misogynists. At the expense of women, all three of these men became millionaires. So the fact that I was lenient or compassionate or open-minded to any of them, I think is a testament, to my good character. Because even though I saw the bad in them, I believe they had the potential to be good. Now, obviously, I was wrong about Destiny. He just is a straight up predator who's facing a felony now, which is horrible. I was wrong about Abba, who when I asked him about Destiny, chose not to think it was that big of a deal. This is prior to the felony coming out, to be fair. But still, he didn't think it was that big a deal and just thought it was drama. Okay. And then with Sneako, I stopped talking to Sneako before Abba, because Sneako, two women came to me and said that he had hurt them. And so I took down all the collaborations I did with Sneako because women had come forward, not because these men and their audiences tried to bully me to be harsher on Sneako than I was on them. And please mind you that Sneako is 26 today. Current day Sneako is 26 years old. and I'm 36. Abba is in his 30s. Destiny's 37, 36. Like, we're old in comparison. So, you know, I was obviously going to be more lenient on the guy in his mid 20s than I was on the men in their 30s. So I don't regret those things, but there's also why I do take down content that I've interacted with people that I think are harmful, because as much as long as they're growing, I'm happy to keep collabing. But the moment I see the stagnation, it's just like, I'm not interested. Right. So like I said, I don't have those collaborations up anymore. I took my stand. I'm sorry that none of these men could rise to the occasion, but that's not my fault. It's theirs. And so for their audiences to be critical of me for believing that these men could be better and then complain that women don't care about men's problems, well, this is why we burn out on your problems. Because when we try to be there for you, you then blame us for being there for you. And then blame us when we stop being there for you. Okay? I think this also coincides with why Ye and Sneako over the years have declined as artists and creatives. Both had amazing potential for many reasons. We're going to start with Sneako and then go to Ye. Sneako in particular had amazing potential. I remember when my sibling and I came across his How People View You from 2015 video. And I remember thinking, I don't know who this kid is, but this kid could be somebody one day. I just didn't know that somebody would end up being a misogynist, you know, but he is a man under patriarchy. So, you know, it is what it is. Okay. So let's watch this video together. This is on Sneako's X account because YouTube did delete his channel, which was earned. And so here is the video that I had initially seen of Sneako. This was the first video of Sneako's I had ever seen many, many, many years before I even thought we would ever collab in the future. Like, I never even thought about it. This is the video I saw Sneako and thought, this kid, he could be somebody one day.
My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes.
Holy shit, everyone, it's me, I'm here. What do people think of you? This is what we live for. It isn't how can I make myself better, it's if I go hiking this weekend, how many Instagram likes could I get if I take a selfie next
So he's about 16, I believe, if I did the math correctly.
To a tree. Our image is everything, and if you pay attention, you'll see the lengths people go to maintain this. Virtually everything you do is in anticipation of how someone else is gonna react. You know that guy who says he doesn't give a fuck about what people think, or, you know, don't get offended if you don't like my beliefs, shit like that? That guy does care. They all care. He just wants people to think that he has a personality too. So don't be that cunt, please. Just be a different guy. Don't be that guy. Let me show you an example of this. I found a tweet here and it reads, I love how strong I am now. There are two options here. Either one, it's a dude who went to the gym twice and can now bench 85 pounds, or it's a girl in her late teens who wants attention. I prefer the latter. I'll go with the latter. And yes, I was right. And from this selfie in her profile picture, I swear to God on my life, I guarantee you within 10 seconds, I'm not cheating, I will scroll and I will find you a selfie that either says I'm a loser, I'm a nerd, or me too. Here we go. God damn it. So let's jump in her mindset here. Nobody's actually buying that she thinks she's a nerd, and she knows that too. But in 2015, it's not cool to seem like you're trying hard. So alone in her room putting on makeup at 8 p.m., she's wondering, how can I get attention for the next few hours? She has to feel important for the rest of the night. So what she does is she scans her room. Voila, she sees her glasses on her desk. That's a prop for a selfie. LOL, nerd. She won't post a picture of herself chugging Mountain Dew and sucking Dorito stains off of her fingers while, you know, going to town watching anime from the early 2000s. Now, the glasses are enough of a prop for this picture. But that's just on the internet. Everybody says that. We spend time crafting this image of ourselves with filters, music quotes, and edgy tweets. It's pretty much like making a Sims character. How you see me on YouTube is this person that I create through hours and hours of hard work. I script literally everything I say and edit it in a program. You have no idea what I'm actually like. For all you know, I could be a YouTube drone created by Google to scare you away from the YouTube you don't have to pay for. In real life, people view me as a kind of wannabe, sometimes annoying, slightly funny fuckboy. And you know, subconsciously I spend a lot of my time perfecting that image. I don't wake up and think, how could I not be a douchebag today? I wake up and think, who could I piss off the most? Most of you have extremely fucked up thoughts that you don't say out loud because they affect your persona. I'm guessing at least more than half of you are closet racist, and even some of you kind of wanted me to go home at some point. I was born here, by the way, please don't deport me, Mr. Trump. Probably more than half of you have some more gay thoughts than you care to admit, and at least 1/3 of you have spent some time on the really sketchy parts of the internet. Fucking weirdos. The reality is most of us are going to spend our lives wondering how everyone else is going to see us instead of improving ourselves for ourselves. You know, it even comes down to your haircut. When I have a buzz cut, I want people to think I'm a big tough guy, you know, big tough guy. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó, rey? Hey, uma ese. When I got the quarter black, half Asian fro going on, I want you to think that maybe I go to museums or something. Maybe I'm one of those guys that reads grown-up books with titles that have sentence fragments, like, Searching for Meaning. I guarantee you that's a book. I don't know, though. Should I post this? Maybe people are gonna think I'm a tryhard.
Okay, right? So this was Sneako in 2015, and he's a teenager. Okay. So he's an artist. He's a creative. Sneako always has been. He's also an edgy boy on the internet. And edgy boys on the internet have more overlap with misogyny and racism than they do not. So if you're an edgy boy and on the internet and you think like, fuck the system, I've read Rand, I know like, you know, that there's a matrix or something, you're going to be adjacent to more racist, homophobic kind of bubbles than progressive bubbles. Okay. There can be overlap, but okay. There's also the liberal bubble, like the Asmund bubble. The Asmund Gold bubble is like the edgy atheist, but they're still conservative at the end of the day because even though they're not church-going conservatives, they overlap more with conservative policy. Okay. So Sneako is having this relationship with self where he's always been a person who questions. Now, Sneako also, from my understanding, grew up in like a middle-class home, two-parent household, relatively educated, has resources and access, and never really fit in. He's one of those children that just never fit perfectly into a group, right? Him being mixed and him being a little bit more into like what I would call baby boy philosophy puts him at odds with the regular average person. Like Sneako isn't average. He in some ways is exceptional and in other ways is not exceptional. He's just another edgy boy in the internet, which is so common that you are the average now. If you're an edgy boy on the internet, you're just an average guy. If you're an edgy guy in real life, you're weird. You're a weirdo. The only place an edgy guy gets any kind of community is on the internet. You can't be an edgy boy in real life. Like you're a turnoff. Nobody likes you. You're the Debbie Downer at a party. You're the person who's like, actually, did you know there are pesticides in your food? And you're just like not the person we want to hang out with. You know, you're the person who's going around yelling slurs at a party. Like we don't want to hang out with you, right? So the only place that person can go to is the internet, and so it becomes a performance that Sneako's right, you can't do in real life, but you can do on the internet. There is a place on the internet where you're allowed to perform in this way and be embraced and actually be seen as a truth bringer or a truth teller. And this is where the creative turned into conspiracy theory, like pipeline kind of comes into fruition with Ye and everything, where there is an honesty, a truth that resonates with all of us that, yeah, like there does seem to be a system. There does seem to be elites. There does seem to be, you know, at the expense of the minority, there does seem to be something that makes me feel like no matter how hard I work, I'm never going to get anything in life. And that is a universal experience that isn't conservative or progressive. It's just people have different methods or ways of figuring out solutions for the population. But I think what conservatives end up doing, ironically enough, is sort of becoming like fascistic in a way that they couldn't have perceived because they saw themselves as the underdog. And the underdog can't be a fascist, am I right? Unless you're a guy who failed art school. You know what I mean? So I think when we're having these conversations, we have to keep in mind that Sneako is like this perfect category of boy to end up exactly where he ended up. Remember that Sneako I had called infamously open-minded, and Destiny had a meltdown over it, right? Remember how Destiny ended his friendship because he was like, I can't believe Brittany thinks Sneako's more open-minded than me. Sneako, over the span of the time that he had been on the internet, went from edgy boy on the internet to open relationship guy to, you know, not being ashamed of being a cuckold, or by technicality is not a cuckold, it's just an open relationship, and then a voyeur and exhibitionist. And then he became a Muslim, and then he like bubble hopped. He was like trying on every different identity to see who he was. That feels pretty open-minded to me. Just because the boy's brain fell out doesn't mean he wasn't open-minded. This is Sneako when he was a model. This is Sneako when he was a model. Sneako could have been somebody. He could have been one of the top models in the world, but it decided instead to become a MAGA Muslim. He had potential to be so many different things. And boys made fun of Sneako. Boys made fun of Sneako for being open. They made fun of him for being even slightly progressive or feminist. They made fun of him for being a model. They made fun of him at any point he was trying to be feminine or more in his feminine energy, made fun of him. Men bullied Sneako into becoming a MAGA Muslim. And Sneako was, in my mind, lost enough to allow that to happen, right? Like, Sneako doesn't know who he is. He is a ADHD boy who's trying to figure out who he is. He is ADHD. He is neurodivergent. He doesn't know who he is as a man or as a person. He doesn't, he's lost. And the only way he knows how to feel found is by appealing to like the worst bubble in the whole world, right? This was a picture that was taken years ago now, I guess, with Ye and Sneako in the background. And then this is, what's this Christian gay boy's name? I hate this man. This man is the epitome of grifters, you know? Chat says, aren't people responsible for their own actions? And you guys can ask any questions you want. I'll answer chat or whatever. But, you know, you have to be good faith. I have to censor good faithedness. Everyone is responsible for their actions, but actions can be explained with things that are out of your hands. Like, you know, there is a balance between understanding what you're responsible for and actually recognizing that you might not know better, right? So it depends on what you're asking, right? Not everybody is responsible for every action they take, but you are responsible for what you do afterwards, right? Okay. This guy, what is this guy's name? What's the gay guy's name? Guys, he showed up at colleges everywhere. Gay, conservative, Catholic. I can't believe I don't. What is his name? YouTuber. Oh my God. I can't believe I can't remember his name to say. Milo Yiannopoulos. Thank you, guys. Thank you, chat. Milo. Okay, Milo's a shit person. Thank you. Milo grifted and became Ye's manager, and Sneako was there. But Milo himself is a Catholic grifter. He was married, had a husband, and then talked about how he was molested by a priest and talked about how it might not be that controversial. Remember that conservative men at every opportunity come up with excuses of why marrying children might make sense, including Sneako himself has made this argument, right? And that's the problem when we're having these conversations. We're not considering how people are products of their environment, their genetics, their backgrounds, their lack of introspection and curiosity, and how they can embody goodness and badness all at once. This is a philosophy channel, right? So we're looking at this philosophically, which means we are zooming out of our personal subjective morality, and we are examining humans as like an evolved species over time, right? So that's the thing you have to pay attention to. Okay, now I'm not saying this to say that Sneako or Ye are victims. I would say that they're victims of their own lack of introspection and curiosity, as well as the things they could have been victimized as well. Like you can be both a victim and a predator. You can be both a victim and a perpetrator. You can be both a victim and an abuser. You can be two things, right? So, you know, I'm trying to make you understand, like, there is a reason why creatives can fail their potential, and usually it's a lack of curiosity on their own end, but you can't deny that they are creatives. Like, I don't think you can deny these men are talented. And I think if you do deny it, I think there's a part of you is like, it's like the same people that are like, this comedian was never funny. Well, it doesn't matter if you think they're funny. The data says otherwise. You know what I mean? And the fact that people want to pretend like Sneako and Ye were never talented, you're crazy. Especially when we get to Ye. You think Kanye was never talented? That is the craziest thing I've ever heard a person say. You're probably a Drake listener. Okay, you probably listen to Drake. So now, is Ye now exhibiting or using those talents to create beautiful art? No. But that's because he's failed his creative potential. Okay. Now, if you go to The Guardian, I noticed it says, beyond Andrew Tate, the imitators who help promote misogyny online. We got Jordan Peterson and Aiden Ross. Okay. We got Sneako. We got Fresh and Fit. We got Hamza. Ugh. Okay, these are the worst. If these are your friends, you're failing. And that's the thing. I remember when ABBA and Destiny were trying to help Sneeko get out of his bad bubble. You're not that much better. Like, yes, ABBA was obviously the best of the three of them. And obviously ABBA and Destiny were technically better than these boys, but also not really. Like, from a progressive perspective, all of you are in hell and the bar is there with you. So from a Britney perspective, obviously, I don't want you to be anybody that you are. I want to give you credit where credit is due. I want to say ABBA and Preach have obviously grown through the years, but I also want to say that they make inherently transphobic remarks about women in sports. They make, honestly, like transphobic remarks about, like who they would date or who they wouldn't date. That ultimately the misogyny is still blatant on their channel because they make the most money talking shit about women, right? So it's not like they were perfect, but they could have been better on the misogyny scale, right? Chet says, how is Sneeko creative? Best video he made was watch my clips to Charlie because he got the response, those mags, you idiot, which was awesome. Well, if you didn't watch Sneeko in the same way that people have never listened to Ye, they could say, how are they creative? If you only know Sneeko now and you didn't know Sneeko when he was a creator, Sneeko turned into streaming because he saw Hassan watch one of his videos on stream and get more views than he did. And he's like, what the fuck? So Sneeko sold out for money and fame and clout, right? So Sneeko, he betrayed his creative authenticity for money, views, and clout. That's why he sold out, right? And he sold out because Hassan triggered him and he made that decision. So he's responsible for that. But if you didn't know Sneeko before, sure, you might think like, when was he creative? You know what I mean? I don't even know what that means. He was a model. He showed up. He made beautiful like videos, great shots, music, production. You might not have liked the script, but again, I don't need to take away his flowers and, I don't need to take away his flowers in order to criticize him. Chad says, I think I remember Sneeko explicitly saying that he switched to streaming out of laziness. I remember him explicitly saying it was because Hassan made that video and he was mad that he put all that work and effort into a creative piece that nobody watched, which is true. Most people put thousands of hours into creative pieces that nobody ever watches and you don't make money off of. And so I'm not saying the best thing he could have done is grift. I'm saying that that's interesting, that that's what human beings do. That human beings, no matter who you are susceptible to becoming the worst of us. This is why Jordan Peterson has that internalized fear of becoming a Nazi, because he knows everyone's capable of it. Now, the irony, of course, is like, not that everyone's literally capable of being a Nazi, but all of us are capable of being fascists. That ultimately wanting to control people's bodies, minds, and souls is fascistic in nature. That ultimately the road to hell is paved in good intentions because the people with the best intentions want to control your agency. And this is why, life can be really difficult. So in this channel, sometimes I'll get questions in chat that will say like, Brittany, how do you know right from wrong? I don't believe in objective morality. I simply believe in doing less bad every day. And so, this is all fundamentally about how we see ourselves, our place in the universe, right? So when we feel, a way about a person, we have to decide, am I having internalized feelings about this person or externalized feelings? Am I having a micro feeling about this person or a macro feeling about this person? Today, we're going to zoom out because this is, we're doing philosophy. We need to zoom out. We need to remember that like we don't control people. We simply come in contact with them. Okay. And I don't want us to become horrible people just because they're horrible people. Now, Sneeko eventually, a few years later, made a second video called How People View You. And again, I'm not standing up for anything Sneeko said. I'm not saying because he's a good artist that his art was healthy or good for the world. I'm not saying any of those things. But I feel like it's not that hard to say, oh yeah, that person's a good singer and never listen to their music. There are plenty of talented people in the world. I do not listen to Taylor Swift. I do not like her music. I'm not saying it's bad music. I'm saying I don't like it. But it has nothing to do with me needing to shit on Taylor Swift to acknowledge that she makes obviously good music. People love it. It doesn't appeal to me. Never been a Swiftie, okay? That has nothing to do with Taylor. I'm not making a moral judgment of Taylor, even though I could because she's a Democrat white woman, but that's for a different video. Okay, here's Sneeko. Forgive me, I have to use Rumble for this video. Ugh. But here's Sneeko's remake of How People See You Part 2.
My mind's telling me no.
Starting off with a Predator soundbite. Love that. Wow.
But my body
Ah, sorry, forgot that R. Kelly's illegal now.
He is illegal. He's a predator and a horrible sex, like just a horrible. But you know, all these men are honestly sex predators, so makes sense.
What do people think of you? This is what we live for. I told you this 5 years ago and you laughed at the hair, but nobody listened. Social media has completely taken over our lives to the point where it's a second reality. It used to be something fun to keep up with friends, but now people open up Twitter when they're depressed and mad and leave an hour later saying comrade. It's all a performance. No other.
Did you guys hear recently? Sorry, we'll get back to that in a second. Did you guys hear recently about the TikTok scandal of TikTokers admitting they're paid actors to create YouTube channels or TikTok channels? Same thing with Lonely Girl 15. Do y'all remember Lonely Girl 15 on YouTube? How everyone thought she was a real YouTuber and then she came out that she was an actress and everyone felt betrayed? That's what Sneako is talking about. And I know I keep saying it and y'all are not listening. So many content creators you meet, progressive or whatever, are not real. Like, you think they're real, but they're not real. In the same way that I'm trying to tell you, like, all these boys you keep watching on the internet, they're not real. They think they might be real, but they're not real. They do not care about the things, you know what I mean, people are saying. Some people are real, but you have to have the discernment to know which is which. They're not real. I keep saying, like, I know what Sneako means to say. The problem is, instead of Sneako being real, he became one of the fake ones. He became the thing he had been making art to expose. He became the thing. And I'm saying, don't become the thing. Just know that it exists. And that's a part of what the population wants. The population, that's why you get all these celebrity stories years later of hearing great things about people. And you find out, you know, Bob Ross cheated on his wife. And you're like, what? So, like, again, just keep in mind that there is going to be a part of the population that's willing to lie and grift. And then there's a part that isn't. And notice that the rich people are rich for a reason. That's why I say you might want your YouTubers to be successful so you can live vicariously through them. But just remember that, like, these people are selling out. It is very hard to become wealthy and stable as an authentic creative. That's why I say be wary of your dreams of thinking YouTube is such an easy job. And remember, all these men who brag every day that YouTube is easy are misogynists and homophobes and bigots. Of course it's easy. They just have to get on stream and yell slurs. It's less easy to become successful as a YouTuber when you are trying to be a good person. That's why Sneako decided to be a bad person. Much easier.
Other generation has had to pretend to know what you're talking about, but now accounts you followed when you're horny are posting woke infographics on their story. 4 ways you didn't know you were transphobic. Sweetie, I promise you, nobody followed you for your political opinions. There's no reason millionaire white boys should be looting Jordans in the name of George Floyd. As I'm recording this, the FBI just raided his house and seized his weapons. They found a sniper casually leaning up against the hot tub. But come back to this video a month later when he's bragged about this in a song. I got raided by the feds. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. We used to only look up to criminals in movies who are fictional, but today our entertainment is people's lives. For Gen Z, it's a flex to be a criminal. So attention is literally a currency. 30 years from now, the presidential address is going to be given with the TikTok dance. My fellow Americans, the country's on fire. And God help you if you have an original idea, joke, or opinion, because they will cancel everything you own.
Ellen was mean to me. You put her in jail.
Look, I understand trying to take accountability for your actions, but everyone's trying so hard to be on the right side of history that they sound like robots. Woke people on Twitter with purple hair with nothing to do because their graphic design office closed. They decide what's right from wrong. And they only do it to appear morally superior to strangers online. Look, I'm gonna search abolish the police and click the first account that shows up. And I promise the first account I click on will have gender pronouns in their bio. Sarah, abolish the police. She, her. And her pinned tweet is a picture of her nipples attached to a fucking generator? I don't know. But this is who we're dealing with. I've realized during quarantine being away from people how much I miss being around strangers. It's why I love stand-up comedy. It's why I could talk to a stranger about life. When you speak to someone face to face, suddenly all the transphobia and pedophilia and disease and death and murder, all that you forget about when you're in the real world talking to real people. People drop their act when you talk to them face to face. Being away from people, I've realized how much shit I say in conversation, not because it's truthful or it's funny, but because of how people are gonna perceive me if I tell them. Like when someone will say something like, I don't really talk to those people anymore. What they're really saying is, I'm better than everybody. And then they'll go into a 30-minute discussion about why their personality traits are linked to the stars. We want to seem special. We want to be cooler than we really are. But you'll notice as soon as you say something embarrassing, as soon as you actually open up to someone, their guard goes away. Now they're not performing. You can speak to them like they really are. But making these videos, I'm always the winner. I'm always gonna find a nice way to tie it up at the end so that I learned a lesson and it's all good. I get to make fun of people that I'm better than, like the Kardashians and the gender pronouns, when in reality...
I like that he's like, I'm better than the Kardashians, and President Sneako's hanging out with Ye. Ye's like, they took my kids away and I can't see my kids. And I'm like, maybe it's because you keep making songs about Hitler. And he's like, no, that's not it.
I'm guilty of all the stuff I'm criticizing. I'm completely addicted to social media. I care what strangers think about me online.
Chad says, what level is Sneako here? Sneako's a 2. I thought Sneako could have been a 4 maybe, but it seems like Sneako's just like a 3 who went back to a 2. I don't think Sneako knows who he is. I don't think he is being introspective. I think he's trapped in this idea that there's an answer in the 2 bubbles. I think he's like currently operating in 2A bubble. I think he's seeing all the bullshit, but I don't think Sneako has a value system, right? I don't think Sneako thinks value systems matter. I think he used to, but I think he lost it. I think he became like cynical because all the famous people he knows, think about all the famous people he knows, mostly 2As, mostly maybe 2Bs with really bad value systems, but they're all men who just want to, at the expense of their audience, make money, fuck bitches, and get connected to power. That's what they want. And that's what Sneako knows. If Sneako spent the next 10 years in a fucking monastery or with a bunch of monks in the woods, like he'd be a different version of Sneako because his environment would impact him. We are impacted by our environments. That's why they say, be careful who your friends are. If Sneako had 10 years with some monks, he wouldn't be this Sneako because he couldn't be. Because this Sneako is a product of who he's around and who he's chosen to pay attention to. That's why I say be careful of the content you watch. This is why I'm moving away from the streamer boy bubble, because I noticed that I was becoming, in my language, so I could communicate with them, I was using their language. And I want to make sure people know, like, that's not how I want to talk about people. I do want to talk about people in a better way. But in order to do that, you do have to hang out with better people. And that's really hard, you know? Chad says, do you think Sneako went back to 2 because being 3 wasn't paying the bills? No, being a 3 is being a 2, guys. Being a 3 is being a 2. Like, being a 3 is a glorified 2. So 3s just make the decision to stay in 2 bubbles. They don't go back to being a 2. They were never a 4. Like, being a 3 is adjacent to 2 bubbles. I think there might be something more to the universe, but I think I'm just going to stay where I am. So Sneako never left the 2 bubbles. I just think he might have had insight at some point that there might be more to the universe than this, but he didn't, right? Ches says monks are inherently misogynistic. They separate them from women to get close to God. Okay, we're not talking about those kinds of monks, guys. Hold on. Are we? Okay. We're talking about the metaphorical imagery of being a monk in the mountains. We're not talking about literal monks who come from patriarchal systems that subject women into secondary class. Okay? So obviously all men under patriarchy, which is a global phenomenon, suffer from misogyny. So a man who hasn't deconstructed will be by nature of the socialization of the construct, misogynistic. So, and even if he went to a misogynistic monk people, he would still be different than this person here, right? Chad says, what's the pivotal point that a 3 becomes a 4? Or rather, what's the major difference between 3 and 4? I have a podcast about the levels if you guys haven't seen it. I have live streams I've done about the levels if you guys haven't seen it. I don't want to go into it too hard in this video because it will derail us from the conversation. But a 3 exists in the 2 concept. So 2s think this is all the universe, and 4s recognize like there is no objective universe in the sense that we think there is. 2s think they know the answers. 2s believe they're in bubbles. Even 2s who say like, I don't have the answer, think they have the answer. 4s know there is no answer. They just exist. Like, you don't exist because you just exist. And there's like this inherent belief that twos have that somehow they exist for a reason. There is no reason. You just exist, right? And fours recognize like, oh, all of these things that I thought were important are only important because I've decided to make them important, because it's a force meeting another force, you know? Chat says, genuinely think your level system is unhelpful lens to view people though, or through. I mean, that's a fair criticism. I mean, I don't know if you're a philosophy person, but most philosophers have systems, you know what I mean? Like, it's unhelpful for your brain, but it's not universally unhelpful, right? Obviously. So if you notice a tool isn't helping you, you have to understand that it's about you. It's not about me, because obviously it's helping people. It helped me. It helped the people around me. It helped a lot of people in my audience. So it's okay if it doesn't help you, but you need to first recognize that you are the thing it's not helping, not that it is unhelpful, right? And that's a part of introspection, realizing it's not all about you.
Unfortunately, this is the reality for my generation because we grew up with social media. I still remember the first time I saw a hot girl post a picture in Italy with the caption, "Take me back." Ooh, oh, that's good, man. That's good. Your life is so much better than mine. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I don't know though. Should I post this? Maybe I should cry more and say I was raped.
Okay, so he's pointing out what he thinks is like a fake expression of authenticity. And I think that he has something right there, that there is a lack of authenticity on the internet. I think he's just picking on the group of people he thinks it's coming from. But I would say it's more of a universal trait that conservatives are, if not more guilty, just as guilty as having a faux persona than the progressives he's crying about. You know, if you're going to be a person who gets online, and we all know the people, girls, we all know the kind of white feministy types who get on the internet, talk about their womb lands, and we sit there and we think like, this can't be real. This girl can't be real. The thing is like, it's not about progressive or woman or white. It's about people. That regardless of where you come from, when I say people are the same everywhere, I mean, they love the same. They think about their kids the same. They're bigoted the same. Like, humans are just a natural biological phenomenon of evolution. We're not special. We're not unique, but yet because we're having this very real experience, that is very special and very unique. So there, you have to have these contradicting thoughts to coincide with one another to actually accept that like you just are. This is why I'm fascinated with this idea that people have, and maybe it is because my brain is so specific, but like this is what I mean when I say like I don't think humans are special, but I'm also not like an antinatalist. I don't think most people should be parents, but I don't think the government should intervene. I don't think like just because I think something doesn't mean I think the world should reflect that thought. Most people think because I think it, the world should reflect it. I don't think like that. I don't think anymore. I used to think like this because I was born into a world where they taught me to think like this. I no longer think that what I think is what everyone should think. But that is how most people think, including Sneako. He thinks if everybody saw the world like he did, they would see what he saw. But he doesn't understand that like what you're seeing is somewhat true, but it's also not true. And if he zoomed out more, he would see more of the truth, you know, more of the truth. Okay. Now, Kanye, which I can't play this video because I'll get copyrighted. So I'm just going to play it on times 2. This is Runaway, and Runaway is his full, well, it's a song, but he has a full-length film for the album, and it is, in my opinion, the best of Kanye, the best of Ye. He's Kanye West here, but the best of Kanye. It is amazing. It is truly a piece of art. The imagery is beautiful. The messaging is perfect. Everything about this video is the greatest thing I have ever seen. And the flaw with Ye is that he is not this person anymore. Who is this person? Who is the Ye we see today? Because it's not the man who made this. Whoever that man was who made this, that's the Ye I want back. I think that's the Ye we all want back. But something happened. Now the question is, what happened to Ye? Did he do too many whippets and so his brain is fried? Did he, get sucked into the wrong Reddit community? Did he meet too many conservatives? Did he misunderstand history? Did his mom die and he lost his mind? Whoever this person was that made this whole film, this is an amazing person. This is an amazingly talented human. This is a creative that like the world wishes they could contend with this Ye, you know? And I don't know what happened to him, but I think this, I don't want to say this was the height of Ye's potential because I think he had so much more. But I do think Ye and Sneako, who are now friends, we'll get to that in a second, it's like they died. It's like the version of them that was trying to really make something, they both died in the name of something else. And I wonder what happened to them to cause that to happen. And I don't think it's singular. I don't think one thing happened and that was it. It was obviously many things. Many things lead people in these directions. But how do people with so much privilege and so much access how do they not utilize those tools? How do they not find trusted therapists? How do they not read the right books? How do they not figure out how to meditate? How do they get lost? Oops, I'm going to get copyrighted. I'm getting copyrighted. Sorry. Okay, I got to stop that. Hopefully my stream is still here, you know. But what we find in all of these situations is truly a creative who's trying to do something different. Now, here's where I'll be extra critical of male creatives. A lot of philosophers, a lot of creatives who've been men, a lot of neurodivergent, both Ye and Sneako are neurodivergent, a lot of neurodivergent male creators are so misogynistic and so bigoted that even their art is tainted through that bigotry. There is a big part of that. That is true. We see that in their work. Okay. But I think I think you would have to be blind not to give them credit where credit is due. And then at the same time, be critical of that fact. How many philosophers, how many artists and musicians and writers do we find out were just like abusive to their wives, cheated, horrible to their kids, rapists, molesters? Yeah, because you can be both things, right? So it's kind of one of those things where I want people to accept that both can exist. And it's also your right to not engage with the work. We don't have to engage with the work just because they created something beautiful. We also don't have to love them just because they created something beautiful. And I think that's why at the end of the day, no matter how much of a genius Ye is, he's still not that special. He's just a guy who created something and then he'll die and none of this will matter because it never really mattered. None of it really matters. And I don't mean in a purely nihilistic way, right? Boys find nihilism when they're 15 and think they've discovered the universe. We're not talking about nihilism. We're talking about like just, yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for making this thing that was so moving to people. It's like, did you ever like have a piece of art that like fundamentally transformed you as a person? And then like 15 years goes by and you go back to review the art and you're like, oh, I used to think this was so deep. And you realize it was deep for the person you were at the time. And then now it doesn't resonate because you're at a different juncture in your journey. When I go back and watch Runaway, I get transformed into the Britney. Like I get like, I almost remember what it was like to be her. You know, earphones in, blasting the song in her room, getting high, watching this video. I just go back to that version of myself and I enjoy the art. And I do enjoy the art even as the Britney now, but I noticed that with some pieces of art, maybe not Runaway because it's so good. There's so much art that I used to think was so deep. And now I'm like, oh, it really was though. It really was for the era of life I was in. But now that I'm old, I'm like, okay, it's not that deep now. But I love that because that means I've grown. And that means that piece of art is still fundamentally important for somebody. It's just not for the version of me that I am now because you change, you know? So when we're having this conversation, right, I think we have to use it to know ourselves better, not to learn how to criticize Ye or Sneako more, but to know ourselves better. Now, let's watch this together. Because this is, okay, girl. Let me pull it up for us. Give me a second. When we talk about potential and where people could go, we have to also, as people let go of that potential, and I think that's what's so funny about my small time in the boy sphere, hanging out with Sneako, Destiny, and Abba, is none of those boys realized how much I was waiting for their potential without living for their potential. That the moment I walked away, it was because they weren't growing anymore. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I was hoping they'd be better without investing any of my personal like, it didn't matter to me if they succeeded or not. People used to ask me that all about Sneako. Like, what if Sneako never changes? What if he never gets better? Okay, I don't care. And they're like, well, aren't you invested? I'm not invested in men's potential anymore. But that doesn't mean that I don't see the potential. I'm just not invested in it. It doesn't matter to me if Sneako ever becomes a good person. It's not going to impact my life. But people think that I should care because my reputation, they're like, didn't you say Sneako would be a good person? I've never said that. I said everyone's a good person and no one's a good person. And Sneako has the potential to be a very good person in a very subjective manner, but like a very interesting person. But it doesn't matter to me if he ever does it. It just doesn't matter. My life continues. And then we're all going to die and none of this will matter. But for the people whose reputations are banking on it, is why you still have people fighting for their favorites in the comments, because their identity is wrapped into these people's reputations. Don't do that. Don't wrap your reputation into these people, right? So Ye and Sneako were on Piers Morgan, and it was quite controversial. And this is current day Sneako and Ye. This is today what these two creatives are doing with their time.
Ye West on Uncensored after he made global headlines for anti-Semitic outbursts. Most outrageously, he tweeted that he wanted to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. It was a heated interview. It was a long interview. I held him to account. I told him his remarks were offensive. He caused many people a lot of pain. And he gave me some back, of course. He called me a Karen. Fair enough, I can take it. At least we had a mostly grown-up conversation. These constant tirades, Ye, against Jewish people.
Have you felt my pain yet? You haven't felt my pain. You don't want to feel my pain.
No,
you don't hold You don't hold accountability to my pain. You're being a Karen.
Do you believe that you have any form of mental illness?
I believe that
This is old, Ye.
that I suffered from exhaustion. I believe that I suffered from exhaustion. I suffered from being lied to constantly by the people around me, by my management, by my ex-wife.
Do you still love Kim?
I absolutely love. I'll love her for life.
That interview lasted 2 hours in the end. We covered a lot of ground. There were moments of tension and moments, I think, of mutual understanding. Yeah, he got up and walked off at one point, but he had to think about what he wanted to say, and then he came back and he said it.
And we'll have the top lawyers like a Johnny Cochran, Robert Kardashian level legal team, looking at all of these contracts together. After that.
So this is, okay, I remember when Ye showed up on Joe Rogan, and a guy in my life was like, don't you think Ye saying a lot of really true things? Listen, a conspiracy theorist is right twice a day. It's a broken clock metaphor. And that's why I say, like, everybody has a little bit of the truth, but nobody has the full truth. And that's why I say every philosophy system, every legal system, every person, every group, we all hold truth, but we cannot absolutely hold pure truth. So the question you have to ask yourself every day is, in which way am I wrong? Like, in a real way, in which way are you wrong today? And that's really difficult because people feel like, oh, that's so defeatist. I'm never going to be, good enough. I'm always going to be wrong. Well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with being wrong, except that it could lead to harm. So the reason we harm reduce every day, the reason we're less bad every day, is because inherently, when you have a baby, you're bringing harm into the universe. You cannot have a child without understanding that they will cause harm. But people believe, I'm going to raise my baby different. It's never going to cause harm. The harm has been caused, period. And there's no judgment on the harm. The judgment is that some harm might be necessary, but not all harm is good or wise suffering. And so we have to think about that idea around wise suffering and what that means, right?
Moment happens, then I will say, I'm sorry.
Okay, if that's your position. That's clear.
Interview adjourned. Love you.
Yeah, thanks for sitting back down. I'll change the subject now. Obviously, I have no idea what's going on in this guy's head, and he's unquestionably a genius.
And I do not love Piers Morgan. I think he is absolutely contributing to more harm in the universe. I think Piers's whole platform is amplifying harm and sensationalism, and it's not serious. It's not serious discourse. So just keep that in mind.
Artists with a global fan base and massive talent. He's lived most of his life under the microscope of intense fame, and that pressure alone can make people behave very oddly. Back then, I was trying to understand if Ye had any regret or remorse for what could have been a relatively isolated incident or some kind of episode. I wanted to know if he understood there are consequences for his words and whether he was genuinely a racist. Well, we now know it's just a tip of the iceberg.
I think it's frustrating to have Piers Morgan talk about accountability for the way that he speaks when he has been the most misogynistic and fatphobic person, transphobic all of these years. Like, Piers Morgan certainly doesn't have a place to stand. He was so offensive and controversial. This isn't even on a TV show. This is a YouTube channel now. Piers Morgan is a YouTuber. He's not even on TV anymore. So out of all the people, again, who should be calling out Ye, maybe the right message, wrong messenger, you know?
As far as the watching public is concerned, Ye has spiraled in both his personal life and his business life. Most recently, he's taken to posting endless, outrageous anti-Semitic slurs on X. He frequently professes his great love for Adolf Hitler. He poses in swastikas and KKK costumes. He says things like Jews were better as slaves and they should be whipped. We all know this because X has allowed him to carry on doing it to his 33 million followers. I've argued for a long time. His account.
And by the way, when people say like, oh, autism doesn't make you a racist, funny enough, there are mental illnesses that actually can make you say very racist things, and they're not like who you are, which is very scary, by the way. And the question that Ye has been posed with is like, because he says he's autistic. Apparently he's been diagnosed, autistic to autistic. I get it. But also he might be bipolar, because you can be both. And that's the question, is like, are you grounded though? I'd like to see you grounded. When I say I want to see people grounded, I want to see a person who, like me, like, do I look like, in comparison to Ye, I feel like I probably look pretty grounded today. Like, hey guys, how are you? Like, hope you're having a great day. Let's have a conversation. Oh, that's a really good point. Let's talk about it. Like, I obviously feel like I am grounded. When you watch Hassan, he's obviously grounded. Like, we're having grounded conversations. When you're looking at a Ye, or you're looking at Ethan when he's upset, or you're looking at Trisha, there's a spectrum of groundedness to in our feelings to possible like psychosis. And I'm not saying anyone has a psychosis. I'm saying adjacent something. And there's nothing wrong with having psychosis. You're not a morally bad person for having psychosis. It's just a medical status. It's just, oops, your brain did that today. And it is your brain. Like, the problem is when we're having these conversations, every community is hearing it. And some community is going to think you're a soul. And so you're being judged on that soul in relation to God. Some people think you're just your brain. And if your brain malfunctions, the you that is you no longer exists. And so like, even holding people accountable for their brain is like very difficult, And then there's like a version of people who kind of believe a little bit of both, a little bit of both. It's like, well, maybe I'm a brain, but maybe the person that knows that this is helping. Like, for me, I feel like I'm a person, a consciousness that sees when my brain is triggered and go, Brittany, stop doing that, Brittany. But I can't stop it because I'm triggered, but I can at least verbalize to people like, hey, I think I'm triggered right now. You got to give me a second, because I want to make sure that I'm saying it with the right energy and I'm not saying it in a way that's like going to be unnecessarily hurtful, or the attention is going to be weird. Now, of course, I've never gone into racist tirades, but that's probably because it's not part of my schema or something. I don't know. I don't know why some people go into it and some people don't. Discourse said people with Tourette's be having racist tics sometimes, and that's true too. I don't know why that is. I don't know why some tics come out racist and some don't. I don't know. I'm not a therapist or a psychologist. I'm just a person. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just a baby. That's a meme. Okay. I don't know. So I'm just trying to be more compassionate while still understanding that, like, hey, I know you didn't mean to do this. But since you did do this, the you that is you in your body, you need to apologize to people and explain to them why it happened. And you need to do whatever it takes to never do it again. So if I was Ye and it was my bipolar who was making me this way, then I would do everything it took to never repeat this action again, or to create a circumstance in which it isn't encouraged or seen as sort of like creative art. Lots of creative people aren't the best people. And I think a lot of people also romanticize creatives as like people who get to say the things nobody wants to say because that's what art is. I think you can make good art without being a bigot. I think you can make good art without being a misogynist. I think you can make good art without saying horrible things about Jews and blacks and women. And I think that that's what I'm looking for in Ye. Where is the version of Ye that says, hey, I'm never going to let this happen again? Because the Ye now is still showing up in KKK gear, is still saying, I love Hitler, is still right. Like, who is this? What are you doing? Because at some point, even if it is a malfunction of the brain, now you're just that person. And it's hard to keep being compassionate to you when you're not doing the work to stop it, when you're not allowing anyone to help you either. Because, we can't control him. We can't legally strap TA down and hold him in a house and not let him be himself, because that's also bad, right? We have to let him be himself. But if himself is this person, then that's just who you are. You're a bigoted person who says horrible things, and you make art that is inherently like just harmful.
Should be shut down. It should be stopped. That's my opinion. I believe passionately in free speech and I detest censorship because I believe in the importance of sharing honestly held opinions in a democracy. But posting endless, vile, anti-Semitic insults.
Chad says it was legal for Britney, though. Yeah, I like how Britney Spears went under conservatorship, but nobody's doing that to the men. A lot of the women, Wendy Williams, Britney Spears. It's interesting that the women, and that's misogyny. The misogyny is that he's not crazy. And even if he is, you can't. But when it's Britney and when it's Wendy, they do it. And this is my greatest fear. My greatest fear that I try not to hold on to is the fear of people being able to take you away and decide you're crazy. Yeah, that shit's scary. And I don't want to do that to TA. I don't want to take him away because he's crazy. I don't even want to say that he's crazy. I just want him to be in a space where his actions don't have to hurt people. Because right now his actions are hurting people. And I don't want to take him away to a facility. I mean, just like a real doctor who cares about him and really wants to help him, like real people who want to help him. But then what if like a real person wants to help him? Like Dr. Kirkonda tried to help Ethan, but Ethan won't handle it. Ethan won't accept help. Like if you don't accept help from Dr. Kirkonda, you are not serious about getting help. I'm sorry. Like not literally, but kind of, but not literally, because Dr. Kirkonda is so good faith. He's so obviously interested in helping people, even the quote worst people on the planet. He is so professional about helping them. And the fact that Ethan rejected help from him was like, at that point, you got to let it crash and burn. So same with Kanye. Like at some point, you got to let it crash and burn. And that's why these men are like, nobody cares about our feelings. Nobody cares about men's feelings. Well, we don't care about your feelings, and you happen to be a man. And that's really what this is about.
Encouraging violence against Jewish people in these unhinged tirades on a privately owned platform has got nothing to do with free speech. I invited him back onto Uncensored because at least on my show, I can call him out for what he's been doing and put myself in between the 33 million followers who see his posts without any challenge whatsoever. Our producer spotted that he was in Spain with his friend Sneako, and we invited both of them on for an interview. They very quickly agreed, and Sneako spent several days talking about it, but they mucked us around.
See how this chatter is coming to my chat? Remember when you said Sneako was open-minded and then he was the most unopen-minded person? Who knows? Who can tell who this kind of person is? This is a person who's just genuinely not introspective. Like introspective on a degree, sure. But like they don't know what the word open-minded is. Isn't that amazing how Bubbles don't know what that word is? Because they put it on a pedestal. It's like you guys don't listen to the sayings. Don't be so open-minded your brain falls out. Do you not know what this means? Because Sneako is a great example of this. You can be open-minded and you can be too open-minded. Don't be angry because Sneako was open-minded and y'all couldn't see it. Not my fault his brain fell out. But like he was open-minded. So yeah, nice trying to be sassy in my chat. I will ban you. Okay, for your own good.
A significant expense, both in time and money, to me, my crew in Spain, and my team here in London. More importantly, he didn't turn up yesterday and said wanted to do it today.
Exactly. Chet says his mind was open and then he closed it. Exactly. Y'all act like you can't be open-minded and then become bigoted. Plenty of people go on an open-minded journey and then become bigoted. It's actually what growing up into conservatism is. Why do people age? Why when people age do they become more conservative? It's literally how people do it. Like, that's how people do it. It's literally how people operate. That's why you, as you age, have to be open-minded to the youth because they have answers you don't have as an older person. Chet says, how do you define open-minded, Brittany? Open to different ways of existing. Open-minded, curious, interested in listening, considering, in any capacity. Like, oh, I'll listen to that. In the time that Sneako was on the internet, like I said, he had been like 10 different people. Because he was like trying on every identity to see which one was his. He is the progressive he's afraid of. The progressive who has new pronouns and new ideas, like new identities every day. That was Sneako. Because they're open-minded. They're trying to figure out who they are. That's what you do when you try to figure out who you are. You try different versions of yourself on until you find the one that fits. And now I think he settled. You know, I think he settled, right? but it is what it is. Everyone does, or a lot of people do. Chad says you can't be open to everything. That is a contradiction. Well, that's true too. I'm certainly not open-minded to bestiality. Let me tell you, I'm closed-minded as fuck. But people put golden open-mindedness on a pedestal. People think being open-minded is only ever a good thing. Being open-minded can also be a bad thing. Like going to the gym can be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. It depends on your relationship with that thing, obviously. Yeah, we need discernment. Exactly. We need discernment.
So,
Which I think Ye and Sneeko suffer from. They don't have discernment. They don't have it. They're lacking.
it seemed to me then it might all just be a stunt. But I went ahead and said, okay, we'll have another go today. Ye told Sneeko not to be offended if he stormed off very shortly before today's interview started. You can judge for yourself how it went and whether Ye has any respect or, frankly, any marbles. I'm not a shrink. But if you're so delusional or fragile you don't expect a journalist to ask you questions about your publicly stated love of Hitler, you should probably talk to somebody other than me. What followed, frankly, was a farce.
I'm getting you multi-tracks right now.
Okay, coming up.
Next is rarely out of the headlines at the moment. It's fair to say the headlines are equally rarely positive. The rapper,
I love this. Chet says discernment is what makes curiosity fruitful and expanding. Absolutely.
producer and fashion designer, is currently working on a new album. Several new tracks were previewed on a recent live stream with his friend Sneeko, and both Sneeko and Ye join me now. Well, welcome to Uncensored. Ye, we haven't spoken for a while. How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't use the term West, the whole drop the slave name idea.
Okay, so we just call you Ye, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, look, when I last
Man thinks he's Malcolm X, bro.
interviewed, we had a long conversation. And since then, a lot has happened in your life. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to try and talk to you about some of this. How would you say your life is at the moment?
I mean, you see that view?
Yeah. Your life is good?
See, they're being weird. They're both being so weird right now. I'm so good, Pierce. Thank you so much for asking. The view's beautiful. The sun is out. I'm here with my friend Sneeko. Everything is going great. Why are you being weird? You're on an interview. Answer the fucking question. Do you know what I'm saying? Like even Sneeko being, answer the question. You guys are being so socially weird right now. Answer the question.
Well, judge it on the view as the answer to how my life is.
Yeah, Chet says they're in defense mode. I think, 100%. They're like doing something. They're being weird, right? They're like, Chet says no game. They got no game. They're obviously in like a, like they're almost like bullying peers, which is so silly. They're on the defense.
Judge me by the view.
Well, the view is Mallorca. I've been there. It's a beautiful place. And for all intents and purposes, you seem very...
Yeah, Chet says they're too cool to answer. That's exactly the vibe. Like, we're too cool to answer your questions, Pierce. Next.
relaxed and happy. That is in direct contrast to your public image at the moment over the last couple of years, led by your ferocious... Well, hang on, let me finish the question. Led by your ferocious use of...
No, but I already disagree. It's not in contrast. There's so many people and artists that are championing the idea of someone being able to just express who they really are and have been able to go through the war of being attacked by the banks, being attacked, by... the banks. That's the best way to put it. Being attacked by the banks and to still be here with this view is, that's the win. So I think I'm in contrast to your contrast.
Okay, but the point I was going to make is that I watch what you put out on X. You've got 32 million followers. So you're one of the most followed people.
See, wait. Now look right now. You're not going to take inches off my dick, bro.
Okay. So just that alone, right, is so validating for superstars. Like how many people follow them. Like society really makes the worst people famous. Now, to be fair, and I think that's a reflection of us, I don't think it's a reflection of the celebrity. I think it is a reflection of us that we make the worst people famous. And I think you should pay attention to that, right? And I don't think it would be niche communities on the internet, but like even niche streamers, look at the men that are famous. Sneeko was famous. People made Sneeko famous. People made Ye famous. Like Ye had a reason at one point. He was an amazing creative. But look at who we make famous and tell me that's not going to eventually go to their heads as feeling very validating. How can you blame them? Which is why I say don't blame people in a philosophical sense. Because how could you blame them when they are, with all the data in front of them, right? Everyone around them is saying they're right. Their data is saying they're right. The books they're reading are saying they're right. Their followers. So like from a human perspective, they're susceptible because they're products of their environment. Even as we age, we're products of our environment. Elderly people are products of their environment, right? We are susceptible to who we have around us, okay? Wait, I had another thought, but now I've lost it, I think.
Bro, like, how many followers do I have?
Well, how many is it?
I think you could do the study. You got a whole staff over there.
I thought it was 32 million. How many is it? You obviously know.
I mean, no, I mean, don't help them out. You know, they.
I'm told it's 33 million now, so congratulations. You're slightly bigger following than I thought.
No,
Wow.
no, congratulations. Your information is correct. You're not just some, dude trying to sub. I'm a gift, bro. You know what I mean? Why do all you people in media act like you haven't played my songs at your weddings or graduations or at funerals or when your child was born? You take somebody that's living like a Lennon, a Michael Jackson, and
Yeah, but I think people forget that as a celebrity, it's almost better to die in your prime so people love you forever, but you didn't. And we got to see you outside your prime. And it impacts how we view the music. That's it. Give Ye his flowers. He's one of the best creatives to ever come out. And then he failed. He failed to reach his long life potential.
you just take all this time to just like that nuance right there. It's idiotic. It just shows the hate that you put out for people that put love. There's so much love in the art that I
With
put
all
out.
due
There's
respect,
so many-
okay, what are you talking about? I haven't said anything.
What are you talking about? It's dirty. Okay, now you're not taking accountability or
I've
responsibility.
literally,
Weaponizing therapy talk.
you said that you
what would-
implied I
what-
haven't
what
played your
rewind?
music. Of course I've played your music.
I need a no, sir. This is what you get for now. We can circle back when you can count.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Where's he gone, Sneeko?
That's it for Ye. But it's nice to meet you, Piers.
Where's he gone?
I think he's just going back to work. There's several things.
Chad says Sneeko dressed like Voldemort in the fifth Harry Potter. Woo! Hilarious.
He's working on. I was not aware he was going to leave like this, but it seems like he got upset about the
So it's all
Why does
just
Sneeko look like a security guard, bro?
a game, is that the
Twitter
idea?
followers. Well, I mean, life is a video game, is it?
No, I just wondered what the point of this exercise was. Was he supposed to do an interview or not?
Are you supposed to do an interview? But I mean,
I think Ye is this kind of, I think a lot of people do this, and I want to speak to this in a bigger way too. I think people who are edgy teenagers really think like, oh my God, everything's a construct and nothing matters and society, money doesn't matter and everything's a, yeah, that's true, but also it matters. WWE is fake, but the injuries are real. This is all a show, and yet you still have to show up. Ye leaving is in Ye's mind showing power of how everything is so fake. But relationships and marriages and friendships, all those things just become real because of the effort you put into it. The only reason to not put effort into it is not to say, wow, look, it's so fake, but to say that I am not going to participate in building something. There is a difference between pointing out that something is a facade and actually never putting any work into building something. Like all of these men constantly abandon building anything except their own ego. And then they wonder why people are frustrated with them because there's no space for other people in their life. Look, like life is this construct. You can make it up. It can be something you make up. It can be a game, but that doesn't mean that the game doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that people want to build something meaningful within the game structure. So, yes, it's all a construct, but I like my constructs. They're really valuable to me. I really like my life. I think you should like your life, and I think you should be respectful towards people. And I think if you say you're going to be on an interview with a person, you shouldn't use it as an opportunity to try to artistically fail, showing that it's so fake when the only thing fake here is your attitude. Period.
Amount of Twitter followers, something like that. It's patronizing for no reason. You said his name incorrectly. You know his name is Ye. This is very public about that. Hopefully we could do it. I think this was good. We were prepared for a good interview. But come on, you know what you were doing.
What do you think I'm doing?
I think you were.
And so now they're playing a game. This is a social game, right? Sneeko goes, you know what you were doing. And Piers goes, okay, what do you think I'm doing? And it becomes like a fake game. There's no groundedness. Nobody's being serious, but it's real, but it's fake. So they're right. It's so fake. This is so fucking fake. But it's not fake in the way people think. Like reality TV isn't fake the way you guys think it is. Real people are being impacted. Those HGTV shows where everyone's like, oh, these shows are fake. Yeah, but real people are being given the bill at the end. Oh my God, Oprah gave away a car, but it's not even real. Well, the tax bill is real. Like, that's the part that people are trying to call out. But the irony is that All of our social games are fake, but they're real. This is what it's like being an autist every day. It's like we sit here and watch people have conversations like about the weather, and we're like, is this a real conversation or is this a scripted conversation? But both are valid. You want to be a community member. You hate America for being so individualistic, but it's so individualistic to call out conversations as fake when the reality is that's how you build a community with people. Building a community with people is talking about the weather. So if you want to be a community member, you better goddamn talk about the weather. If you want to be an individualistic person who doesn't care about community, then be like, I'm not talking about the weather. It's fake. You have to engage in conversation with people about things that feel silly to build trust with people. That's what it's for, is to say, I trust you to agree it's hot out. Hey, it's hot out today. Oh my gosh. And then someone goes, actually, it's really cold out. Now you get to look at them and be like, hey, this conversation was really easy. I said it's hot out. You agree. And then we move on. But now you've done something weird. You've decided to say it's actually really cold out when it's 100 degrees. So now I'm really confused. Are you crazy? And now you trying to be so real and edgy just looks like you're insane, which is Kanye. Kanye looks like the guy who, when you're like, man, it's sure hot out. He's like, no, it's not. It's actually cold. It's actually snowing. And you're like, what are you doing? This was like the easiest social situation we could have been in. And now you're being weird. So now you're signaling you're unsafe. Don't be Kanye. Okay? Just say, yes, it's fucking hot out. I'm dying. My tits are sweating. The underboob sweat could, I could squeeze it into a glass and then move on with your life. If you want to challenge social scripts, do it in a way that's good. Not that's bad. This is bad.
We're trying to patronize very intentionally by getting those two things, under his skin. Maybe it could have been about past interviews or because of what happened yesterday. But I mean, this information is not that difficult to get right.
Yeah, we called him Ye, and we got his Twitter following count wrong by 1 million, from 32 to 33 million. Also, for the record, you guys dicked us around yesterday, and you seem to find that very entertaining and amusing in your live stream, which I'm sure you will now. You kept all my crew in Spain and here waiting, and then wasted their time. And then you got us all back now, and you've wasted our time again. And you again may find that funny and entertaining, and that's fine. I don't. I think it's a total waste of everyone's time and effort and money.
Well, it is.
Chet says, why is Piers doing this for real? Because he himself is a clout chaser. He himself is fake, but real. He likes to think of himself as this great, amazing content creator, but he's just here to interview the most sensational. He asked a white woman to say the N-word on his show the other day. Did you guys see that? He's like, would you say the N-word here? Say it here. And this white woman's like, well, I do say the N-word. He's like, go ahead, say it. And then Myron was on there. Myron was like this. And then the other black guy, what's his name? I always forget his name, from CNN. He's like, do not let this woman say the N-word in front of me. And I was like, like, that's what they're going for. They're going for the virality because it's fake media, but it's real media because it's really impacting us. It's fake media that's really impacting us. It's really impacting us. And that's the problem. Okay?
I was ready for the interview yesterday, too. My time is important as well, regardless if it was wasted. We have to admit, this is somewhat entertaining. This is going to be laughed at by many people.
What's entertaining?
That was funny. That's undeniably walking off right into the beginning of an interview is funny.
Yeah. Out of interest, what do you do with him?
I'm working on several films right now. I am streaming out here. I'm editing, and I work on things behind the scenes, some inspiration for art. I'm just there to try to help fulfill his vision.
Well, let me ask you the questions.
Sounds a bit when in Rome. Sounds a little when the artist needs a young, sexy boy around to inspire his art. Sounds a little European.
I would have asked him. So, I mean, out of interest, what is with his obsession with Hitler? Why is he so rampantly anti-Semitic?
Exactly. Chad says this is why Andrew Tate is so dangerous, because it feels fake as fuck, but clearly its impact to society. Exactly. Like Trump. Trump feels so fucking performative and fake as fuck, but it's real enough that he became the president of the United States. And within 100 days, literally pushed us backwards by like 50 years so quickly. It might feel fake and funny and memey, but the consequences are real. That's why people are critical of certain, like the way we talk about language, because as much as like we'd like to think people are smarter than they are, all of us are susceptible to just being like, we don't have the wisdom of discernment. We're not a wise species. That's why they say wisdom is earned. That's why I'm like pretty sure I'll die unwise, because like to be wise is it's so difficult.
I
over
can't answer
social
questions on
media.
his behalf.
Well, you're going to have to
I
because
can't
he's
answer
not
questions
there.
on his behalf.
He's not there.
What's that? What's that?
He's not there. Literally, he's dropping a track today called Heil Hitler. Why are you happy to be associated with somebody like that out of interest?
I'm not going to speak on his art and his vision. while
I'm
he's not
asking
here.
you,
I
why-
find
I'm
it
asking you-
inappropriate.
Chet says that's what I was thinking. Sneeko is a kid. Why is he writing so hard for Ye? Well, think about it. He's a kid, and one of the biggest artists of all history is calling you up and saying, "Come with me." Trust me, most people would go with Ye. Most people couldn't even pass up the opportunity to be in the same room as Ye. Sneeko's a 26-year-old guy who Kanye West is like, "Come hang out with me." And Sneeko's like, "Holy fuck, Ye is asking me to hang out with him." Yeah, he's just, that's so, hell, I know grown men who would do the same thing. You know, it's like grown men around Trump. Like if I told them like, "Hey, do you want to like meet Trump?" They'd be like, "Oh my God." And not because he's the president, but because he's Trump. You know? Yeah, I'm not that surprised, right? That's why I say like, you know, there is some, even my brain, there is some part of it that would like, I'm so person interested. Like people are so my special interest that a part of me would want to meet all kinds of people. But I always have to make the choice about whether or not this is good in a larger picture kind of way, or if it only is good for me. And then I try to make decisions on that. But I do have the human part of me that wants to meet everybody. But then I don't think it will be good for the greater good. And I think in some instances, the greater good has to come into play. But yeah, I think I'm the kind of person who would want to meet everybody. But not because I'm a fan, but because I want to see what it's like to be in their aura, like around them. Because I'm a people watcher. You know what I mean? But I think Ye or Sneeko sees it as like a status symbol, you know, because that's how people are treating it. Why is Sneeko with Ye? Why is Sneeko and Piers Morgan? It's a status thing for him.
Why you're happy to be associated with somebody who most of the world believes is now a rampant anti-Semite.
Well, you're associated as well. Your show is called Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Yeah.
You tried to get him censored on X. And here you are on the days we're going to release the song doing an interview with him. So we're all involved here. It's not like I'm the only one complicit.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to get him on was because I don't think anyone holds him to account for anything he does on X. And in fact, he deliberately breaches all of X's rules, and yet he does it with impunity and is allowed to do it. Where
Chad says, what larger picture or greater good are you referencing? The people on the internet, just everyone in general? Well, first myself and everyone related to me. So like my audience, my family members, America, my status here in Europe. Like if I as a person, public figure specifically, went and hung out with Ye for any reason, then that would, I think, in one way validate Ye. Because, you know, funny enough, I might be a small content creator, but trust me, all of these boys were giving me, "Oh, Brittany thinks I'm introspective. Brittany thinks I'm valid," because they need my validation. Whether they like it or not, they were looking for it. And so that's the problem. We're always looking for a validation, and I wouldn't want to give Ye the validation. I wouldn't want my audience to feel like I was validating him. But I think there's a way to have interviews or social situations where you don't have to validate someone just because you're interacting with them. It's the same reason Ethan says Hassan is like promoting a Houthi terrorist, even though he's not a Houthi terrorist. You know what I mean? But like, as if journalists don't have conversations with dictators all the time. But those journalists are also criticized for saying, why are you interviewing this person? Why are you talking to Putin? There is a line all of us have to follow all the time between, is this a good person to talk to as a human? Or is this bad because now it seems like we're validating them, right? And that's the problem. Chet says, "I see. Thank you. I thought you were putting a division between what's good for you and what's good for the larger picture." I mean, those are two different things. I am not going to be personally like hurt by talking to Kanye West. Like if I wasn't a public figure, it wouldn't change my life. My life wouldn't get better or worse unless like somehow Kanye ruined my life. But if I just met him at a cafe and I talked to him for 10 minutes, like that's just going to give me another thing to say like, "Oh, met Kanye West today." But like that is different than Britney, that is a public figure that has an audience who watches her. That person has different responsibilities than the Britney that goes home at night. The Britney who goes home at night has completely different consequences and relationships than the Britney who shows up on stream. Those are two different people. And that's kind of what Sneako was alluding to, in a sense that like we're all different off camera. But the truth is like you're all different when you leave work too. Don't act like streamers are different. We're at work. You know you're a different person when you go home at work and you kick up your feet and you pop open a beer. So I don't know why you think streamers are different.
Whereas millions of other accounts get suspended for far less offences. So I was going to ask him directly, which is why I mentioned his X following. I was going to ask him about what he puts on X and why he does this, why he continually attacks Jewish people, why he continually celebrates Adolf Hitler. And then I'm curious about, given he's not there, can't answer these questions, what your association is with this guy and whether you're comfortable to be associated with somebody who most people consider to be an anti-Semite.
I think I just answered this question. These are good questions. I think I just answered half.
We haven't answered the question, have you?
But I mean, if I did, you said, what are you doing out here? And I said, I'm doing films and I'm recording behind the scenes and I'm streaming and I'm editing and helping fulfill his
Have you
vision.
been helping him with the track Heil Hitler?
No, I don't. I'm not a music guy. And if you wanted to get questions about his Twitter or X correct, then you should have got the number of followers correct. That was something intentional that you knew what you were doing.
So I got
if you
the
know
size of his
everything
dick
about
wrong.
what he's
Is that
tweeting,
what you say?
well, if you know everything else that he's tweeting, you should have got that right as well.
Oh, don't be so pathetic, Sneako. Honestly, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get good content which will promote you, Sneako. And I'm just curious how you, Sneako, deal with the fact that you are so openly associating yourself
You asked
now
the question a
with
few
somebody
times,
who
and I
seems
mean, I
to
can answer the same
worship
thing.
Adolf Hitler and is pro the Nazis. Do you feel comfortable about that?
No, we worship God.
No,
if you're
he
gonna say
worships
pathetic
Adolf
that I'm
Hitler.
here promoting this. We could talk about how
He
pathetic it
worships
is that
Adolf Hitler.
that you were essentially working for Israel up until a couple months ago. And
Really?
promoting
When was I
things
working for
like
Israel?
genocide and not pushing back.
When was I working for Israel?
If it's pathetic to make films behind the scenes of one of the greatest living artists, probably the greatest living artist.
Well, he certainly was.
To point the finger
he
at you and
certainly
say
was a
pathetic
great.
as
He
well.
was a great artist. Unfortunately, he's become a rampant anti-Semite who adores Adolf Hitler.
That's true. He was an amazing artist, but even his work has gone downhill, right? You know? Like he was an amazing artist, but he's no longer an amazing artist. Like he was an amazing artist, but I think like amazing artists can stop being amazing artists. I think you can also, if you use language differently, could say he's always going to be an amazing artist. But we went over Ye's work just before this segment. So if you guys are just coming in, no one's going to take away Ye's flowers from some of the work that he's done. But I think he has failed as a creative to live up to his potential. And I think he failed because his ideas about the world aren't grounded, because he's not being introspective. Same with Sneako. Sneako had the potential to be an amazing filmmaker, but he gave it up to be this guy instead. I hope, it was worth selling out for, but like to me, it will never be worth it. But, that's what Sneako wanted. He wanted money, fame, and clout, and he got it at the expense of his art.
Hitler embraces Nazism, uses swastika slogans
pretty sure he says he loves
to sell
everyone.
his
I'm not
merchandise,
gonna speak
and has
for
a
him,
new
but-
record out called Heil Hitler. So forgive me if I don't currently
The
see
song
him
is not. I mean,
as one of the
everything you're
world's
saying
great
in this question
artists.
is incorrect.
Yeah, but I don't see
Everything
him.
you're saying in this question is incorrect.
Sorry?
The song isn't out. The song isn't out for one. And two, he says he loves everyone. He says he loves Jews. He says he loves Hitler. He says he loves everybody. But
Really? So when he says,
well,
let me ask you, given you're the one sitting there, he said Jews were better as slaves. You have to put your Jews in their place. And
Chet says, is Sneako a 4 that lives as a 2? No, he's just a 2. I thought he could have been a 4 maybe, but not now. This was like 5 years ago. I thought Sneako could have been a 4, but he's not. He's a 2. A lot of 2s can look like 4s, but that's why you can't level somebody unless you talk to them. But he's obviously a 2. You know what I mean? Like a 2, he's in 2A territory now from the looks of it.
make them into your slaves. You then said make your Jews work for you, but watch them as close as you can, whip the Jews. You comfortable with that, Sneako?
I think I find it funny. That's not something that I would do personally. I don't whip
You think it's
anybody.
funny, do you? Whipping
condone
Jews?
slavery.
Using Jews as slaves? You think
I
that's
think
funny?
the context of that is funny, yeah.
What's
then
the
also
humour?
to
I'm
remove
missing,
any sense of
I'm
humor
missing
from
the
that is
humour. What's the
ridiculous.
humour?
I mean, do you want me to break down a joke for you?
You think it's a joke, do you, about whipping Jews?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a joke because I've been here for a couple weeks and he hasn't whipped any Jews.
Really? So because he hasn't actually whipped any yet,
Yeah,
that's a joke.
He really has.
Yeah.
Really has. But Piers, before I leave, I don't want to speak on his behalf. if you're agreeing
Well,
that
what
he's
choice do
the
we have? You
greatest
set
living
this
artist
thing.
right now,
You set this farce up. He's dicked us around. You're the one left, so you're going to have to be accountable for him. Unless you want to walk away too.
accountable. What do you want to hold me accountable?
If you don't want to answer questions either, you are free to stand up and walk away like a little sniveling
Well, you can ask
coward
questions.
too.
If you have questions for me, then I'll feel
You
free
know
to
what? Here's
answer
my
those.
question
But
for
just
you.
when it comes to Ye,
Why is your mate Ye?
is this whole thing going to be interrupting, or
Why is your mate
this whole
Ye?
thing just going to be interrupting? Do you want me to speak at all?
You're sounding like Andrew Tate Light, like his annoying little younger brother we never knew about. Okay, doesn't work with me. Okay, you set this thing up. It's obviously some kind of elaborate prank.
Okay,
you're
your team asked
with
me to
your
do
mate
this.
Ye.
If you want to be
But given that
Netanyahu
you-
Light on TV,
but given you want to make, given
you want to be
okay,
Dave
you think it's
Portnoy
all
with a
funny,
suit.
that's fine.
They're just trying to get a viral moment now. So now they're working together, which is why when Sneeko says like, it's all fake, it's all fake. Yeah, but not everyone's as fake as you're being. I think this bubble is just so fake that they think everyone else is playing the same game. This is why conservatives are terrified of progressives getting in power, or Israel is afraid of Palestinians getting in power, because they think everyone is going to be just like them. But they forget, like, we're not all like you. Like, some of us are authentically trying to help. Like, just because Palestine will be free doesn't mean they're going to genocide you the way Israel talks about it, right? But they think, well, that's what we did when we have power, so that's what you're going to do if you have power. Remember that in an ideal progressive world, religious people still exist. And then in an ideal religious world, we don't exist. Queer people don't exist. Gay people don't exist. We don't exist. But in our perfect world, like, you still get to be you. Maybe you don't have to have a bigoted patriarchal religion, but you still have the right to be in that religion as long as the law doesn't come in and start moving through that religion. So, like, this is the thing. So this is fake. And so they think because they're being fake, everyone else is being fake on the internet. A lot of people are being fake. That's actually why when Sneeko talked to Charlie, I think Charlie might not be fake. I don't know much about Charlie, but it seems like Charlie might be a real person. You know what I mean? Like, he might be a real person, but I don't know. And that's the thing, is like, when you get a real person up against a fake person, it's confusing. But that's the irony, is like, everyone's playing obviously a political game. Like, if you're in politics, you're playing a social game. But the question is like, what level of fakeness is the one that's necessary and the one that's inappropriate? Because the world, first of all, isn't owed your authentic self. And two, sometimes your authentic self is obnoxious. Be quiet. Sometimes your authentic self is just rude and we don't need to hear it. And that's the other thing. Authenticity doesn't mean it's good, girls. It just means it's real. But real doesn't always mean good. Sometimes I need you to fake it today, okay? Just in a way that's cohesive and for the betterment of people. Not all the time, not always, just sometimes.
Then sure. If you want to do ad hominem attacks, then why invite someone to your show? I set this up because your team asked me to do it. I did everything that I could. If I knew that this would, I'm not here wasting your time. You're angry at me for setting up an interview that you wanted. If you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer those.
Here's
If you
my
want to keep
question.
doing insults, there's no point in me being here.
Why did Ye stand up like a sniveling little coward and walk away before I could ask him difficult questions?
For the third time, Piers, I don't know if you have a hearing problem, but I'm not going to answer questions on another man's behalf.
Girl.
If
Even though
me,
you
if
set
would
up
like
the
to talk
interview with
one-on-one
him.
another time, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
thank
tell
you.
him from me he's a sniveling little coward. And he's an anti-Semite and a Hitler worshipper. That's what I would have asked him if he'd had the balls to sit there and take the questions. And there you are, proudly associating yourself with him. Good luck to you, Sneeko. Everyone can see you for what you are.
A bitch. I'm just kidding. Okay. Well, why am I kidding? Yeah. So like, everyone can see, I think, these men for what they are, but not because of what Piers Morgan said, but because what these men are, creatives who gave up on the potential of going deeper with their art and aimed for the thing that was easier, a bag. Okay? They're just sellouts. That's what they are. They're ungrounded sellouts who refuse to engage in any introspection. There's a reason why in philosophy bubbles, we often talk about male philosophers as like these edgy philosophers who are just like secretly misogynist, not secretly misogynist, who ultimately like aren't interested in actually thinking about what's true, but what feels true to them. I mean, remember that all these philosophers banned women from engaging in conversation with them. It's not like Socrates and Plato were like, where are the bitches at? Let's make sure women are with us. So they had great things to say, but Marcus Aurelius was also like, hey, make sure you're good to your slaves. So I've read all the books. I like them. There's lots of good things about them. But all the bad things about them are the bad things about everybody. Bigotry, hatred, prejudice that goes unchecked, a lack of introspection or extrospection in relation to outside of your bubbles. You know, like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But this is what's complicated about being people is like everybody has to introspect themselves out of misogyny and racism because we're raised in a racist world. We're raised in a misogynistic world. So all of us individualistically, if not systematically, You know, we internalize a lot of the bigotry we're raised with. And our parents don't even know what's happening because the road to hell is paved in good intentions. So maybe some of them are more aware, maybe they're not. And tomorrow for my birthday, girls, okay, when I come back tomorrow, the only thing I want for my birthday is for us to attempt to have a grounded and serious conversation about something that's trending on TikTok recently in relation to preventative care versus eugenics. And well, I guess epigenetics will come up, but you know, eugenics. And I want to have a serious conversation because it's trending on TikTok. And I think like it's a good attempt for us as a philosophy community to say, can we have a conversation that's dignified and compassionate, that doesn't subject people's experiences down to like a meme. I don't want to be Sneako. I don't want to be an edgy boy on the internet. I don't want to be a Redditor. I don't want to be a debate bro. I want to have real conversations about the suffering of humanity without it turning into how do we kill this whole group of people? It's like, whoa, why do all of men's solutions end up being how do we kill this whole group of people? Can we please have a different solution here? And I don't think it's because they were born men that the only solution they have is kill groups of people. I think that comes from patriarchy. That comes from an idea of what being tough looks like. That's internalized misogyny right there. Or not internalized, that's misogyny. That's toxic masculinity, right? I don't think men are inherently born bad. And I think if you believe that, then you haven't deconstructed gender. Gender is a construct. It doesn't exist the way you think it does. It exists in the same way the color blue exists, but even the color blue doesn't exist the way you think it does. It's the way our eyes process blue. It doesn't exist the way you think it does. That's what is so cool about being a person. Nothing exists quite in the way you think it does, but it does exist in the way you think it does, because the whole, like all of civilization has been built off a lot of just belief. That's how cool humans are as a species. That's how cool animals are, is we don't even need to know. And we can still exist and build all of civilization. Like, that's what's so fucking cool. So if you are interested in that discussion, come join us for my birthday stream tomorrow. I think will be interesting. Does anyone have any comments on Ye and Sneako and being a creative? And why do you think creatives create these amazing works of art and then just fail to live up to their potential? I think it also has to do with the overlap between artists and the romanticization of artists, and also like destruction, like engaging in bad behavior will make you more artistic in quotation marks. It's like not true, but it can be true. Like I saw this great post that said, Cleaning Up My Closet by Eminem. It was a post that said, the man who refuses to sing it, the man who wrote it, and the boy who lived it. Eminem wrote this song about his mom, cleaning out my closet, that song. And when he was a boy and being abused in that environment, took all of that anger and transformed it into an amazing piece of art, right? And now current day M doesn't play it because it's misogynistic, violent, and just horrible towards his own mother, that he eventually learned to forgive and love and move forward with in different ways. I don't even know if they're on speaking terms, but you know what I mean? That's the thing that I think is so interesting, is like sometimes you do have to be fucked up in order to create something beautiful and then healed enough to let it go and not be defined by it. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I think is interesting, Chet says, fear that you've made your best work and will never live up to. You mean in general, like artists have that fear? Well, that's the thing. It's like, that's why you have to let go of this idea that your art is meaningful. Nothing is meaningful, and yet it is meaningful. I think sometimes people have a bad relationship with their own creative process because they don't even know why they're doing it. And I think that's our job to decide, like, why am I even doing this? Why do I create? Why do I do these things? And I do think Ye is most likely autistic, and that's why he can make music that he makes. He obviously has this like ear for music that I'm just like, whoa, like he has this thing that feels very autistic to me, but I don't know, maybe he is, maybe he's not. What's that guy's John Bassett, the guy who does the music for Colbert, but is so obviously in my mind autistic. I'm not diagnosing him. I'm just saying he feels autistic. You know what I mean? He's so talented, but he's so autistic in the way that he processes music. And I wonder about that too, right? And not autistic people are talented. I'm just saying there's a correlation between some people or an experience, right? But Batiste, thank you. Batiste, yes. It's like he's so good, right? Chet says, how famous is Kanye? Very fucking famous. And the fact that you said his music sucks, lol, sorry, I don't know if you've ever heard Ye. Like, that's the thing. You can think he sucks in the same way people think Beethoven sucks, or in the same way people think Mozart sucks. Like, you can think all of these people suck, but there's a reason why it resonates with a majority of people. There's something, I don't know, bro. Maybe I just fall into that category of old Ye, but old Ye was something. Same with Nicki. Nicki is so talented. Nicki Minaj is so fucking talented. It makes me want to vomit. And the fact that she absolutely lost her potential. I can make a whole video about how Nicki Minaj also lost all of her credibility and her, because she's such a fucking internalized misogyny girl who married a predator, who's engaging with, in my opinion, who's engaging in a horrible boy bubble, who lost all credibility as she keeps engaging with these men. Nicki is so talented. We could talk about all these women who all are talented and end up being with the worst men on the planet. Jay-Z and Beyonce, Cardi and what's his name? That one guy. You know what I mean? All these girls have such an interesting way of being creative, and yet, you know what I mean? But it's a part of the, it's a part of the destruction of the bubble. It is a part of the bubble. Offset, thank you. It is a part of the bubble at the end of the day. And it is what it is. That's why the question is, like, why does this happen? Chet says, Doja, I want to like her so bad, but absolutely cannot. Same. I want to love Doja Cat, and I just can't. I can't. Like, I want to love, she's so talented, bro. She's so talented. It makes me literally sick how talented some people are. I'm not even going to play that sometimes I see a really talented person and then I'm that TikTok meme that it's like, could I even be slightly that talented? The answer is no. Okay, no. But you know who we do love? Meg Thee Stallion, our unproblematic queen. If I hear one bad thing about Meg Thee Stallion, I will scream because she is right now the best. She's everything I want. Please don't let me regret this. Ooh, don't let me regret it, But yeah, I think there's, I don't know. What are you going to do? But I think there is something beautiful here about how we do pedestal artists. And we have to remember, like, just because their art is good doesn't mean they are. Doesn't mean, like, even though they were a great philosopher, it doesn't mean they were a horrible person. You can be a great philosopher and a horrible person. You can create something really interesting and be just the worst person, and that's okay. Not that it's morally okay or ethically okay, but just that it's okay that that's true. I think sometimes we struggle with two parts about being a person. We can't accept that that's true, but we can also accept that, like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to accept. It's just a lack of radical acceptance. It's just like that lack of radical acceptance. We can't accept. It's like the same way Elon Musk refuses to acknowledge he's a bad dad. The same way Destiny gets mad when I call him a bad dad and he claims I'm attacking his kid, which I've never done. I'm just calling your parenting shitty. But see how these men can't handle it? What do you mean you think you're a good dad? What do you think being a good dad looks like? Because you're not. But that's my standard. Maybe your standard's different. But according to Britney's standard, you're a bad dad. Elon literally goes around and talks about how his daughter is dead. His daughter's not dead. She's voguing on TikTok right now, swigging her blonde hair around. She's not dead. She's voguing. Chet said, how is he bad though? Which one? They're both men who have abandoned their kids. They're both men who chose money, fame, and pussy over their children's health. They're both people who can't even live near their kids, who don't tuck their kids in every day. There are people who literally use their kids as examples of how they're parents, but they never engage in their lives, like in the ways that in my mind would set the standard. Again, everyone thinks they're a good parent. I think 90% of people are not good enough parents. So keep in mind, they are not special. I think 90% of y'all shouldn't have even had babies, and that includes my parents. Not because they're bad people, but the lack of breaking generational curses and humanity is proof in this generation. Y'all are so busy. Men have a loneliness epidemic, and y'all are blaming women who won't fuck you. Blame your mommy and daddy who raised you. Blame your parents. Blame your parents, and then don't blame them. Blame yourself. Don't even blame anybody philosophically. Hold yourself accountable and be better. But the fact that everyone is out here talking about like, oh my God, the world is suffering, everybody's a mess. And you want to blame who? You want to point the fingers at who? Funny how you all want to teach your kids sex education and you don't want the schools to do it, but all those kids end up being incels anyways. Like, all those boys end up being misogynist anyways. You know? You're not special. You're not special. You're just a person. You're an animal evolved over millions of years who decided to think, oh yeah, but when I raise my kid, I'm going to be exceptional. You're never the exception. Even when you are the exception, you're never the exception. The best parents on the planet I can name, their kid still needs therapy because you're not a perfect person and nobody ever is. That doesn't mean we can't harm reduce and be a little less bad every day. Don't give up because you'll never be perfect. Just be a little less bad every day, girls. Every day. Okay? Now, with that said, that's all I have for you today. I'm actually going to leave you now. Very short stream today because what I want to do is I need to record some content, but I need to prepare for tomorrow's stream, which is my 36th birthday. Please come join us. My birthday gift, all I want from you guys is to help me participate in an attempt to be grounded and compassionate and to have a hard conversation through a philosophical lens about eugenics versus preventable action, okay? So I want you to come join me. Please do this for my birthday. I'd really appreciate it. It's going to be definitely a group effort, a group project, if you will. And hopefully we all pass together or fail together. Either way, we're in it together. Okay. I really thought long and hard about what I wanted for my birthday. And I think this will be a good one. It's also coinciding with something that's trending on TikTok. So I have a bunch of videos. I have like a presentation. I'm going to move us through it and then we'll dissect and have a conversation. Let's do it. I'm always complaining that I can't find any grounded content creators, but maybe we should just have a grounded conversation as a community, right? Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So tomorrow at the same time, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, I'll be here as per usual, and we'll have a great discussion. I think it'll be really good. You know, chat says eugenics stream on your birthday. Hope it's civil. We are anti-eugenics here. So I think that's where we should always remember we're starting off on. Eugenics bad. Brave take. Wow, we're so brave, you guys. Eugenics bad. So remember, we are not having a conversation about if eugenics is good. No. Eugenics bad. Okay, we are not having a conversation tomorrow about whether eugenics is good. I just want to make that clear, okay? Eugenics bad, period, okay? Eugenics bad, you know? Okay, yes, free Palestine. Thank you for that, chat. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. All right, good night. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Answer the phone. Answer the phone. It might be Kanye calling. That's a joke. It's a joke. His name is Ye. All right, free Palestine.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
Why don't you want to talk to me? What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Uh-huh.
I only eat popcorn at the movies.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
Can I be the helpless victim?
Okay, let's see.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.